What's up, fam, and welcome back to Hot D, the Westeros Kickback, here on recapkickback.com. That's right, I'm your host, Chappell, here to recap the craziness from Season 2, Episode 2 of House of the Dragon, titled Rhaenyra the Cruel. And with me to get into the wildness in Westeros this week, straight from the Citadel Library, it is Maester of Receipts, Maester Mari. Mari, what's up?
I'm glad. I mean, the season feels like it's in full swing. I'm glad to be here with you. Episode 2, I don't think disappoint. At least for me, it's like setting up some big stuff. So I'm very happy to be here to talk about it with you.
Yes, I'm very happy to be back to talk about this with you as well. We got a lot of great feedback from the first 2 episodes we've done. From our preview podcast of House of the Dragon, and then our premiere podcast. We've getting a lot of good feedback. So thank you all for listening, for leaving such cool comments, for responding on the Twitter page, the TikTok, the Instagram, the Facebook group. Remember, you can follow us on all social media platforms at Recap Kickback. Obviously, you can join our YouTube community, youtube.com/@Recap Kickback, to leave your comments. If you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead and leave us a like, thumbs up on that little button right there. Hit the subscribe button and let us know that you're watching and that you're supporting, because this has been so much fun. And I love all the interaction we've been getting. But I want to get into some of this mess very quickly. So straight out the gate, Mari, last episode we talked about some of the differences between the book and what the show was giving us for season 2 episode 1, when it came to I guess some deviations in the storyline that we talked about in the book corner. Did you see a lot of pushback about that online before we start talking about season 2 episode 2?
I did see a lot of discourse about the blood and cheese, like how they changed blood and cheese, and how some people didn't like it. How some people like. I feel like if you didn't watch the books, it wasn't that bad to you. I saw people comparing it to like Sophie's Choice. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that's
I
not
don't know
good.
about
That
that.
you're like, I
Yeah.
know, but I think there was some pushback because I knew was going to be, only because if you've read the book, like I said last week, it's a very big monumental moment that basically kicks off the dance. And plus we had been waiting for it for a year and a half, because
Mhm.
like, if you read the book, you knew exactly what was going to open the season up. You knew there was no other way they could open the season up. So I just think when you have the bar that high and the expectation that high, that it would be hard no matter what to exceed it or meet it. And unfortunately, I think how they handled it uh didn't meet or exceed it. However, I do think here in episode 2 they definitely redeemed themselves when it comes to the aftermath of Blood and Cheese. So
Okay, and I'll be happy to get into that. Obviously, if you're listening to this for the first time, what are you doing? Go back and listen to our previous episode, because what we like to do here is we like to talk about the show, but then at the end of every episode, we're going to leave a little spoilery section available just to talk about some of the differences in the book. So we're not going to spoil the whole storyline, but Mari is a book expert, and so we're going to go in and we're going to talk about things that might deviate, might change, might make the story look a little bit different if you're only watching the show versus if you read the books. And so we'll save that for the end as well. But Mari, speaking of aftermath, the baby is dead, and now we're having to have a funeral to make people mad at Rhaenyra for signing off on this. This was yikes. I didn't like this.
Yes. So this is where they kind of redeem themselves, because like I said, how it deviated so much from the quote unquote historical text of the book. I like that they come back and they're like, well, they'll believe whatever we tell them, so let's make the story even worse. And so now that kind of puts you back in line with the books, because like I said, that scene unfolds like even worse in the books than it did on screen. So now you have the Greens coming back and like being like, well, let's just make the story of what happened even worse, make her look even worse. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so that's how historically you get a story in the book that's different from what we see in what's canon. Because remember, the show is technically the canon, in a sense. So I did like that. Sir Otto's like, never waste a crisis, like they said on the after show, using the baby's death to further their cause, it is horrendous, but it makes sense tactically. In war, it was a very, very good strategic play, and it's one that will bear fruit for them for the rest of the Dance of the Dragon. So, you know, ooh, not the
Not
best.
great. Not
Yeah.
great. Yeah. Look, it is nasty. It is.
Mm-hmm.
But on the one hand, it's like, what else do you expect them to do? This baby was decapitated. And
Yeah.
on the other hand, it's like, are you suggesting that they come in and be like, it's all good, it's just a baby? You know, like this is an atrocity. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
something happened
exactly.
that even Rhaenyra herself is sitting there home like, what? I wouldn't even do
Exactly.
that, you know? And so
Mhm.
it behooves Otto and Alicent and Team Green to say, all right, we're gonna push this narrative because we're still at war. If we weren't at war before, we're definitely at war now. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
there's been a lot of Cold War going on for the last 2 seasons. The first
Mhm.
season was Viserys just doing everything he could to keep everybody from fighting. I always remember this scene of him yelling at his whole family. He's like, stop it. You're tearing me apart. And you're doing it for your grandfather, your grandsire. I was like, Viserys, stand up. But he was
Yeah.
trying so hard to keep these people from being at each other's throats, for lack of a better term. And here we are, the baby gets his head chopped off, you know, throat slit, head decapitated. And now we have, you know, full-blown war. Aegon is not going to be listening to any reason at this point. His child was murdered in front of his wife/sister, who is now going to be completely just devastated by this moving forward. And it is such a nasty move that anybody who is on the Team Green side, or anybody who is put their loyalty toward, you know, Aegon and the crown in that way, they're obviously going to look at Rhaenyra's side as being the bad guys. This is an awful thing to do. There's really no world where any of this makes sense. But from Rhaenyra's standpoint, she's like, I didn't do this.
Yeah.
I would never do this. For people to
Yeah.
think I would do this is wild. Wouldn't it be crazy if somebody actually thought this came from my camp? Nobody in my camp would sign off on this, right? Daemon? What do you think, Daemon? And Daemon's sitting there with a I eat ass face, like, oh God.
and Rainy's clocking immediately.
She looked him right in the eye. She's like, this Daemon, you know you killed that baby. Stop playing with me.
That was funny. Those looks was hilarious between those actors. You would have thought that you caught a candid moment or something with them. It was very hilarious.
It's true. But Mari, the show made a very interesting choice last week to not show Daemon give the explicit word that it's happening, right? Like he said, go a son for a son. They say, what if we can't get Aegon? And he's just like, I don't know. And then we cut away. So in this moment, Rhaenyra is like, hey, you did this. I know you did this. I don't trust you. Just admit that you did this. And Daemon's like, what? Me? What are you talking about? I do everything for you. Are you crazy? It was a mistake. You know, so is this Daemon's way of actually admitting fault? Because I feel like if you die hard Team Black, you're still looking at this like, well, maybe he didn't actually say the words per se. But I feel like he said the words.
Oh no.
He said
they purposely did this to keep it very gray. And even Team Black, I think we all like, we're not delusional in, you know, his in what he's capable of. He's the reason he's here. We know what the reason is. But like, it's just like in last season with the whole air for a day thing, when they cut away from if he actually said that about Viserys losing his son. You know what I'm saying?
But we know he said it.
So look, but there was never confirmation again.
Right.
So it's kind of like, it's to keep that character morally gray and to actually put it on the onus of the watcher to think of it. To me, I'm like, I think he said a son for a son, and I still think that I mean, the showrunners say that I don't that it wasn't the intention of them to kill it wasn't the intention of Daemon, you know, to kill the kid, that it was literally blood and cheese bumbled their way into it. It was like an accident, basically. So I mean, that's what I'm gonna go with. But it was it was very funny when he got caught at first, and then it leads to them having it out like that. I thought that was really, really good.
Yeah,
Um,
the
mhm.
acting was really good, I think, and on all sides, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
because you have Rhaenyra, I think, really struggling with this idea that yes, this is her uncle, but he's always been like it's like okay, let's let's separate that
yeah,
actually
yeah.
being her blood relative because that's really hard for me to do. But we have to separate that and just say, looking at it from her standpoint, as a young girl, she's always wanted to tame this dragon. You know what I'm saying? Like it's always
Mhm,
been like he's the bad boy. You know, he's walking
mhm.
around like oh he's so tough. Like you could never like look at him. He like everybody just when Daemon walks in the room, the whole room stops, and she's been attracted to that. You can tell. You
Yeah.
know, as a child, she all up in her uncle face, and vice versa. Really real creep stuff. But you know, for her to even have to admit it in this moment, like, you know what, I was wrong. My whole life, I've been trying to really try to reel you in. I thought it was a challenge. I thought it was kind of flirty. It was kind of cool. But now I'm seeing you for what you are, and I don't even think you really care about my claim to the throne at this point. Do you think you because you like the king by marriage? You're the king in law. You're not really like I'm
King
in charge,
consort.
right?
Mhm.
Exactly. And I thought that was such an interesting conversation to have because at some point I have to start asking, well, is Rhaenyra going to go against Daemon and vice versa? Because Daemon, if he really wants to be king, he could challenge Rhaenyra, I think, at this point for the throne. I mean,
Mhm.
at this point, everybody's claim to the throne is in question. So I hadn't even thought about that layer of the conversation, Mari.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because Matt Smith is here again playing another king consort with no power. Shout out to the Crown fans. Um, yeah, like this moment was so good. Like the between them, this argument between them, it was almost like a Shakespearean play, like the blocking. I like the director of this episode, the woman, Claire, I forget her last name, but like she did a great job with a lot of scenes that were scenes for breathing. You know what I'm saying? These aren't the war epics, these aren't
Mm-hmm.
the Battle of the Bastards and stuff. These are scenes that you have to make interesting when it's really just dialogue focus. And she did an amazing job with that scene because it was a lot of like walking, blocking, walking, block. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like very like it was a dance within itself. Like it was almost like they were
Yeah.
circling and dancing with each other as well. And I really, really like that. And it definitely goes with the books because in the books we know like it's like Rhaenyra and Daemon do quarrel around this time.
Mm-hmm.
And the books are like, we don't know why, you know? And
Yeah.
so it's kind of interesting that we've seen for this episode, last week's episode, that it's been some enmity like brewing amongst the two of them because they have different views on how they want to approach this war. And it's just like with the Greens, it's so parallel that both camps are having opposing views on how to handle the war. And but it's just an added layer that these two are married, they're related, they
Right.
have so much history. He
Mm-hmm.
himself was supposed to inherit the throne at one point and it was taken from him, you know, and his claim only comes through her as of right now. So it's so layered and nuanced, and basically watching Rainier, like everything that everybody said for the past like season in an episode come back to her, like her real, like almost realizing it in like slow
Mm-hmm.
motion, was very, it was so good. The acting was just brilliant. And I loved that she was appalled that it could have been them. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
I at first I was like, again, like I said in the books, it is the same. It's the same thing. It's like it was blood for blood. And even
Mm-hmm.
then I was like, yeah, get them. Because
Get him.
like
It's
Luke
war.
died first, y'all. Like
Yeah.
as much as they're hyping up this, like, oh, they beheaded a baby. Y'all killed little Luke first. Luke was only like
Mm-hmm.
12 when y'all killed him.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I do like that, like Rhaenyra seems sensible without seeming
Mm-hmm.
weak. You know what I'm saying? Like at first, when we talked about last week, I was like, I don't know if I like this because they're just trying to keep Rhaenyra sympathetic. But the way they handle this is not just about sympathy, it's about like, it's like, again, tactical thought and logics. Like, she's like, why would you do this? This is hurting our cause. I would never do this. On top of, why would I want a 6-year-old killed? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I liked on Twitter, somebody said her only line last week was, I want Aemon Targaryen. That was
y'all
literally
had one job.
one job. And somebody's like,
job.
this is why male Instacart shoppers are never gonna beat the allegation.
Look, you said you wanted detergent, okay? Yeah, it said Tide, but this other stuff worked too. Damn, do you want your clothes clean or not? I understand. I see it both ways. And also, shots fired. Don't yell at me like that. So here's my favorite part of this entire interaction. It's when she actually asks him, like, do you accept me as your queen, or do you cling to what you think you lost? And he's like kind of looking at her like, hold on, pause, because I think in a way he realizes that she sees him. She sees exactly what this is. This has always been Daemon just kind of flaunting the idea that it should have been me. I was the stronger brother. Viserys knew it. He even hits her with the, what, you think it was your virtue that that he valued so much? I was like, now he didn't call it out on the purity again, you know. But that it's true. It really comes down to him feeling like he's always had a claim for this, that he's had to support his brother, and now by proxy having to like, because of the transfer of power, has to support his queen, who is his niece, who he really doesn't respect either when it comes down to leading this whole thing. He would like to be in charge. He has never been ruled by anybody else in his mind. Rhaenys talks about it a little bit with Corlys, like, hey, Daemon gonna Daemon every time. You know, the best thing we can do is really just stick around and support Rhaenyra, because Daemon is gonna Daemon. And it was interesting to me because there was also another moment where he walks past Baela, who I forgot he had a black daughter. Sorry, it's been a while. I was like, why are you talking to her? Yeah, exactly. I was like, why is he talking to her? Get away from her, get a job. And so it said, he tells her, like, when morning comes, take Moon Dancer. They tell her, like, to watch over the King's Landing. I was like, okay, we're getting Baela involved again, but I don't want to see more bloodshed of all these children when Daemon is the one out here wilding.
That too, but also Jace said that he wanted to do that job. And she told him no. But she sends Baela.
Send that little black girl. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Well, look. Well, you know what it is. This is my child. My child is Jace. Okay. He looked just like me with his blonde hair. I mean, whatever. You know. But Baela, you your mama's child. Okay. And so you go out here and do the moon dancing, you know, whatever. I'm gonna make sure Jace stay at home. I guess technically Jace is next in line, like he's the heir, right?
Yeah, he's the heir. Yeah.
So I guess it makes more sense for her to keep Jace aside, but she did just throw her stepdaughter to the wolves. Like, hey, you go out there and I
mean, technically, again, it's not a war mission or anything. It's just reconnaissance.
Surveillance.
Yeah, she just wants her to fly around like very high, make sure to see if there's going to be any repercussions from King's Landing, like to see if they send something or something.
Okay, so Daemon is flying off to Harrenhal?
Yes, Daemon is flying off to Harrenhal because, like they established last week, Harrenhal is the foothold, the toehold to keeping the Riverlands. So both sides have correctly identified that is the seat that they should be going after in order to control the Riverlands, which are right there, right before the Crown Lands, before King's Landing. So it's now his mission. They aren't talking, and now, like, Daemon's about to do what he does best, and that's war.
Yeah, we saw that in season 1 where Daemon was on the outs with Viserys and with the crown, and then Daemon just ran off and killed the crab guy, right? Yeah. And when he killed the crab guy, I'm not even gonna lie to you. When he did it, he won me over too. You know, I was watching it like, yeah, Daemon, you out of line, you tripping, you really gotta go. He goes, he comes back with like crab guys defeated, and he did it on his own. You know what I'm saying? Like, we watched him go out there pretty much 1 versus a billion and really take on everybody and come out on top. And it even to me, I was like, well, Daemon's that guy. You gotta let Daemon. And I feel like this is what he has to do next to kind of get himself back into everybody's good graces, because we even see Rhaenys talking about it with Corlys, and she's saying, yeah, he'll probably bring us Harrenhal and all things will be forgiven over there. And I was thinking, okay. But my question about Rhaenys and Corlys is that, you know, they're under the impression, like they're obviously Team Black, but are they under the impression that that Laenor just like was murdered and Rhaenyra and Daemon have nothing to do with it? Because I remember in season 1 they were saying that they hoped people thought they had something to do with it so they wouldn't challenge them, right? Like they would look really scary if they could. So that just didn't land for Rhaenys and Corlys.
Well, for Rhaenys and Corlys, they said Rhaenyra and Daemon said to their enemies they hoped that it would seem like they did it. To Rhaenys and Corlys, they also had an inkling that it might have been them. I officially, you know, even in the show, I believe it was his lover, Sir Carl, because you know, before that little messenger boy who brought them all there saw Sir Carl and Laenor fighting. So they know who did it. They know who killed him. But were they behind it?
Right.
And Rhaenys and Corlys, you know, they have their suspicions, but at this point they've chosen their lot because they, you know, they don't get along with the Hightowers. Daemon's kids will like inherit their seat. We're supposed to inherit their seat and stuff like that. So like their family's prominence is tied to Daemon and Rhaenyra, so they can't really do much else about it anyways.
Yes. So my question is now, if Rhaenyra and Daemon are on different different ends of this argument for who has the crown, and maybe Daemon does make a play for it, does that now leave Corlys and Rhaenys in the middle to now having to decide between the two of them?
Probably that would be the guess. And another thing, Rhaenyra won Rhaenys to her side last season when she showed astute understanding of like going to war and stuff like that. I think what gets lost here is like Rhaenyra again was bred to take that throne. So she is the tactical mind. She is supposed to be the princely mind. Unfortunately, she just has the, you know, her husband, her hand or whatever, is one of the like worst people ever, but a very distinguished fighter. So it's kind of like it gets lost that she was technically raised to be a great leader and ruler under her father. So I think Rhaenys sees that, and she that's what she values as well, and one reason why they're with her.
And I think there's probably some respect for Viserys there as well. You know, Viserys did choose Rhaenys. You know, the only opposing argument to Viserys choosing Rhaenys is that Alicent is the only one in the world who heard Viserys, you know, say it was Aegon. You know, and so because of that, she's like, you just want me to believe your word when I heard him with my own mouth. So I mean, with my own ears, So it's like I understand where she's coming from. I want to come back to Corlys a little bit later on, and you probably know why. But let's talk about Team Green a little bit. So, the baby is dead, and we have to do something with this chaos because there is an event, it is a tragedy, and Otto Hightower says, all right, let's lean into it. You know, instead of trying to, you know, figure out who's wrong and right. Let's just assume it was Rhaenyra in the first place because we're already at war, and it probably was her or somebody from her camp. Let's just be honest. And so let's just use that momentum to turn public opinion against her because there's so many people who still are confused about where their loyalty lies. Like you said, there were so many people who, the bannermen that have gone and they've pledged their fealty to this one side. They say, okay, we're Rhaenyra out of the strength of Viserys said so. And so we've gone with the crown, but Viserys is gone. A lot of those people are gone. And now we have to pick our loyalty to potentially either stay with Rhaenyra or if there's a more attractive side, go with that. And so this is Otto's masterstroke to get everybody to kind of turn their back on Rhaenyra. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, and you also gotta realize like nobody likes war. Like the moment you have to go to war, like you're spending more money than you're making money, you're losing your bannermen, your soldiers, all of that. So like previous oaths aside, you get that raven where it's like, oh, we finna go to war. Who you finna fight for? You know, you might take a minute to respond to that. You might just be like, oh, let me just,
let's see what it looking like outside first
yeah,
before I go out there.
exactly.
Yeah, before
Before
I
I
hop off the
say,
porch. Yeah.
and that's why it's like so undecided. And this is what Sir Otto sees. And he says, this is how we get them to our side, by being like, do you want to be aligned with a cruel baby killer or not?
Right. And cruel baby killer, I mean, it's spicy, but I mean, if from the outside looking in, it's very true. I mean, Rhaenyra is also aligned with Daemon, and Rhaenyra, for all intents and purposes, knows that Daemon did this. She does. He says it was a mistake, but she knows where this came from. And it's not like she goes and throws him under the bus immediately and sends a raven like, hey, it was Daemon, y'all, my bad. We don't want no smoke. Like, no, she riding for her house as well. So she's not the baby killer, but she's complicit in a way, So it's a decent argument, but it's still nasty. They have the entire funeral with the decapitated baby, and they march the baby through the town so everybody can see the funeral procession and they can see the softened souls. They want to see Helena, they want to see Alicent because they're the ones who are grieving the most. But you got to keep Aegon far away because he's crazy.
Yeah. And poor Helena, like, she doesn't want to do this. Do this. And just like last week when I said, like, Alicent was like, what you saw when you came, Helena's like, I don't give a shit.
I don't care.
I do not care. Like, my baby is dead. I really just want to sit in this room, but y'all got me out here parading around. And again, a lot of people who said that her character, like, is very, like, autistic coded. Like, I think this episode here, like, really does kind of feel that way too, because you could definitely tell she was getting, like, overstimulated by, like, everything that was going on around her. And I just felt so bad for her. And then the procession getting stuck in the mud and the baby's body was jiggling around.
I thought the baby head was finna roll off Mari out of the screen.
Too.
I thought it was gonna hit the roll. I thought we were gonna hit the roll. I said, oh, not in the mud. I just see. Okay, so although I'm happy we didn't see that, Game of Thrones, what are y'all doing? The old Game of Thrones that I know
would have done it.
Y'all would have had the baby head rolling on the ground. That's all I'm saying. But no, Helena's definitely giving, like, that Luna Lovegood vibes of, like, something's a little spacey. A little spacey. But yeah, this is a cheap trick. It really is to exploit the grief of this mother and grandmother of this baby, for political game. But again, there's not much else they can be doing right now. I mean, it's either that or just allow themselves to get picked off by Rhaenyra and whoever assassins she sends in. And so, speaking of assassins, we see that Aegon is talking to his number one killer on his side, Kristen Cole. And this is, that meme where they say two dumb bitches telling each other, exactly. Like, that's them. Like, exactly. Get into it. Yes, exactly. Because I need them far apart. I need these two far apart from each other. They're not helping. Aegon is driven by his own insanity because the boy ain't all there. And Kristen Cole is so loyal to the crown or to his position that he's like, I don't care. Whoever's in charge is in charge of me, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And if that means telling your grandpa to shut up, that's what I'm going to do. So
that, and he's clearly driven by his guilt. He's been driven by his guilt since season 1.
Since Rhaenyra took that man purity like that, ain't that something? So ever since then, he's been having a hard time bouncing back. What's funny though? In this episode, it seemed like Alicent really cared about this sin. Kristen Cole really cared about this sin, but everybody else was like, "Girl, move on. Like, get a life. This is not about you. We don't care." She's like, ain't we cursed? The gods are mad at us. They're like, we at war. Alicent, shut up. We don't care. We talked about why the show would even include the Alicent and Kristen Cole situation, because it's not exactly painted as that in the book. And I'm starting to think that it is so that we can really get into the guilt of it all, right? Because in this episode, we see Kristen Cole really trying to find anywhere else to displace this guilt. He goes up to Erryk and says, Erryk. I'm gonna call him Erryk because I don't know which one is Erryk. And so he goes to Erryk. He's like, Erryk, where was you at when all this was going down? Because had you been at your post, keep it. And Erryk says, wait a minute, the king requested me. Where were you at? And Kristen Cole like, oh, okay, you want to make this about me? So I'm not on trial here, okay?
A bed.
A bed. I was asleep. He's like, I bet you were. And so, so Kristen Cole tells Erryk, you need to make up for your downfall, like your downfall here.
Sullying your cloak.
Yeah, you're wearing your cloak got a little mud on it. Do you understand the purity of that cloak? Do you know why it's white? Because it's pure as the driven snow. Okay,
stop with all of this.
I said, all right, Kristen Cole, you're laying it on a little thick now. Now, come on now.
Again, look at the hypocrisy.
I give him that. Y'all ate that one little thing. You know what I'm saying? He got a little mud on his coat. He said, you got a little mud on your cloak. Might want to clean that up unless you just, think you too good to keep the purity of the crown. You took an oath. And Erryk like, all right. You tripping, but cool. He said, bet. And also, to make up for all of this stuff that you've done wrong, I need you to go kill Rhaenyra. Let's just go ahead and cut to the chase. They tried to kill Aegon. They missed. They killed the baby. You go kill Rhaenyra. And I'm like, this is dumb. This is a bad plan. Come but it was kind of a cool plan. He said, you got a twin brother who turned his back on us. What if you pretended to be the twin brother and then you went in and like sister style, like snuck in. That girl has my face. Yeah, twin twist. Kill him and then dip out. Ain't that kind of cool? And I know Erryk was like, yeah, it is a genius move. Right? That's a smart move because this is the old days. They ain't no way they really. How would they know?
I couldn't tell while they was fighting. I was like, oh,
I still call him Erryk, and I spell Erryk Eric in my notes. I don't even try to differentiate which one is which. So this is the plan. He says, go in and go kill the queen. And we'll see you when you get back. Bye. And basically just sends him off for this. He goes on the mission. It seems like to me a very foolish mission, especially once Otto Hightower finds out all about it. Because Otto is like, you did what? I'm sorry. We are trying to make things happen on this side, and you doing stupid stuff like sending a twin to go infiltrate the other twin. Like, it's very cartoonish. It's very like prank. Yeah, I mean, it is goofy. This seems like a sitcom. It's
one dumb break-in plot line for another dumb break-in plot line.
Exactly. Oh, the other thing that Kristen Cole and Aegon did was they found out because blood just completely folds like a towel.
He said, instruments.
Yeah, Daemon made me do it. Daemon made me do it. Daemon said we had to kill the baby, and he was gonna pay us. And I don't even really know the other dude's name who was involved. All I know is he was a rat chaser, a rat catcher, and that's all I got. And so Aegon and Kristen Cole decided, let's just kill all the rat catchers. How about that?
Yeah. This was a lot. I was like, dang, is that what those things in medieval times were for? Just to hang people from
to hang people? I just thought banners or something. Yeah.
It would be
decoration.
There was so many. They were just swinging. I was like, oh my. And like the people seeing it and people crying because they loved one is hung because of one dude. And then when they confirmed that they got the one dude, I was like, "Oh, nice," because we don't. In the books, in the books, you don't know what happens to him, but you do know that they get hung like that. So it's like, that was kind of cool. But I was like, "Dang, there's like 20 of them dudes, and only to get the one." Like, that's messed up.
Hey, Aegon said, "Okay, so we killed 20 innocent people, but we did get the one bad guy." So let's think about,
the progenitor to the American justice system.
He's like, we did get somebody. Let's think about the positive. Okay. This sends Otto off the deep end. Otto is not happy. He has now stopped talking to this man like he is the king and started talking to him like he is his fool ass grandson. He's like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Y'all are idiots. Both of y'all are dumb. This is stupid. We have gone and we have made ourselves martyrs to where the community is behind us. The baby is dead and they are supporting us. They say Rhaenyra is so cruel. Why would you go and do an equally cruel thing or a more cruel thing, depending on how you look at it? And now we're losing all of that. Why did we just parade your dead child through the street, son? Are you stupid? And he's kind of like, yeah.
Are you stupid or are you dumb? He called that man trifling. I was like,
he did.
dang.
You know, that's coded. He said trifling. I said, yep, good for nothing. You know, just sorry. But yeah, this is bad. And Otto's reaction is going to ultimately get Otto fired. Mari, we talked about this in last episode. Larys was the one who kind of laid the foundation for this, going to Aegon and being like, ain't it crazy that your dad's hand and your hand are the same? It's the same hand. Ain't that crazy? And you kind of question the motivation about this. So do you think it is just for pure chaotic gain?
Probably that, and probably because he still wants to, like, you don't have to be the hand to have the king's ear, you know. So I think he just wanted more purchase with the king, which is why when we saw with the whole blood thing, because like the king said he wanted to go and Larys was gonna let him, and then Otto was like, no, you don't need to go. Then Larys goes to torture him, and he's like, oh, but here's the king, and so the king got to beat the crap out of blood. So Larys is doing what he can to get close to Aegon. Now, does he need to be the hand? No. Maybe he just wants like more control to do more chaos, and he can't do that with Otto keep stopping them. You know what I'm saying? So again,
that's true.
Yeah, it the motive not necessarily has to be him wanting that chain of office. It could just, again, being one step closer to the king. Yeah, and control the king.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't hurt to have Otto out of the way, you know, like because what happens here is that Aegon fires Otto, and then he hires Criston Cole. Criston Cole don't know nothing about running no kingdom. He doesn't. That's not his bag. He is like that's simply here for. Yeah, he is what do you call him? A steel fist. But that's what he is.
My new hand is a steel fist.
Right, and that's what he is. He is a like a extension of the crown's sword. You know, like whatever. Like if you start getting out of line, he gonna slap you around and make sure you get back in line. But as far as like tactics and strategy, this is not who we're going to be looking toward. And so Larys can probably cat's paw his way into this role, right? Where he's like, I'm not actually the hand, so I won't get blamed for none of this because there is an actual hand. But in the meantime, I did do this cool thing where I caught the killer. I caught the rat catcher. So I helped him do that. I helped him get blood as well, you know. So he's probably looking at Larys in very high esteem. Larys has already worked his way into high esteem with Alicent because she was showing them feet pics in the chat rooms for him. So he's making some moves. I just haven't figured out, you know, like to what end, right? Is it just for is it just to be adjacent to the crown, or does he want something a little bit bigger?
Yeah, I mean, it could be something as simple as just having power, but it does say something that it's going to take 2 men to basically replace Otto Hightower because, Criston Cole has good war instincts, but like you said, diplomacy, you know, politics, not his thing, clearly. And so that's where Larys could really step in. And I really like this scene. It's an exact juxtaposition of like Rhaenyra and Daemon fighting, watching Aegon and Otto fight. It's so good because it just shows like both sides are not solid and cohesive. And like we're about to go to war and both sides are like in flux. It's such good storytelling. Well,
the power dynamics are fun to watch too because the king is like the grandson to this man who he's yelling at. So this man he's yelling at, his grandfather has years of experience, is the hand of the king, has been the hand before. Basically, you got this man with all his experiences, all the credentials, but you technically outrank him. And so he's your grandpa, but he really can't be talking wild to you like that because Criston Cole will put your grandpa away. And he would do it without second thought. You know, we know that as much as Criston Cole might be loyal to Alicent or Otto or Aegon, if y'all say jump, he gonna jump. Especially when it comes to killing somebody. We've seen him kill people for less. And so there were a couple times where I thought, Otto, don't get beside yourself, you know, because you could end up a victim here. But Otto says he's about to leave. He tell Alicent, you know what, honestly, y'all got it. I'm finna go because I'm not the hand no more. I kind of been like disrespected by my grandson. I'm about to go to Old Town where Alicent has another child who we've not met. Daeron. Yes.
Shout out to Daeron. So
Daeron
excited.
Targaryen. How have we not met Daeron Targaryen, Mari? Or is that a spoiler?
Because no, it's not a spoiler. Daeron is the third child of her and Viserys. With all the time jumps, he was just like born in the middle of one of those time jumps, and then he was sent to Old Town when he was really young to be like to study there and to be like a squire to, I think, Hightower's it's his nephew that runs Old Town now.
Old Town.
So yeah. So it's like he was sent to be like a ward and a squire to their family seat when he was younger. So it's very much like this in the books. Like Daeron is nowhere to be found, and then like he just comes out of nowhere.
Pops up.
Yeah, and a lot of fans were kind of questioning if he was gonna be a part of it, or if they were gonna retcon him, like Maelor, like we were talking about how Maelor wasn't there for Blood and Cheese, and the showrunner, I'm pretty sure the showrunner confirmed that Maelor is not in this world. So I mean, I guess I could tell people in the book, the spoiler section, why I think they did that, but they're taking away one of Aegon's sons, but I'm glad that we will be getting Daeron in the future.
Well, he was mentioned here, but Alicent does redirect Otto and said, no, don't go to Old Town. Go to High Garden to win the Tyrells over. In the meantime, Aegon will calm down once this whole baby thing has worn off. And then that's another time where Alicent says, but Dad, you got to know, I've been sinning. And he's like, girl, I don't care. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know. Honestly, I don't want to know. And so we will see more of that to come, I'm sure. Kristen Cole, like we said, we sent Erryk to go fight, to go infiltrate the Team Black side. But as he's going to do that, he crossed paths with Mysaria. Now, this is so funny to me because the White Worm she has earned her freedom. You know, she was the one who gave the information to Daemon that he used to go and pop off the blood and cheese of it all. But she's being questioned by Rhaenyra, and at first it really looks like Rhaenyra is about done with her. Like, you're a traitor. You did this. This is your fault. You've been selling secrets. She kind of got her on the ropes until she realizes who Mysaria is. She's kind of like, oh yeah, you know, that Daemon, he be leaving us behind. You know how he do when he go on his work trips. And she's the other woman. She's the first other woman, right?
Right. I mean, yes. Right. I mean, how many other women were there? But yeah, she was the one on the bridge in like the second episode of the first season that Rhaenyra herself had to come and take the egg away from them and all of that and solve the problem. And so it was really interesting seeing Rhaenyra finally recognize her in this situation and then really try and decide what to do about her, you know?
Yeah. Did she send her to Pentos?
She helped her get across. She wanted to help her get across the narrow sea here. So like Rhaenyra coming around, like at first you're thinking like, Rhaenyra seemed mad. What's she finna do? But then but then she comes around and like, no, I will honor the word of my house. You know, I will, I'm scared because I don't want you to betray me, but you know, you can go. And I thought Mysaria did a great job of explaining, because like I said last week, like the Hightowers took everything away from her. They used her for her information, and then they tried to kill her. They tried to they burned down her house. They tried to kill her. And like she said, like she's like, everybody just uses me up, and then it's sad, it's sad. She said I could have just stayed a whore. So
yeah, and I'd say that she might be the MVP of this episode to me, Mari, because while she's heading down to Pentos, Erryk is walking her down to the boat as Erryk is coming up, and she's the one who spots the other twin. She's like, hey, wait a minute, hold on, there's something's going down. And so while we see Erryk infiltrating, to go murder Rhaenyra, Mysaria I'm assuming tells the other Erryk what's going down, and he ends up there as well. And they end up having a fight to the death. It's very clear that these two men are going to have to kill each other. They're twins. This is a very sad story, but they're on two different sides of this argument. You know, one is loyal to Team Black, one is loyal to Team Green, and one has been sent to kill the queen. And so it's the other one's job to make sure that doesn't happen. Ultimately, they both end up, I think, Erryk wins, so Erryk kills himself and falls at the feet of Rhaenyra, who is completely in shock by all of this. But I'd argue that Mysaria is the one who was able to save Rhaenyra in this moment.
Yep. Yeah. And the fact that she actually cared to save her is very interesting as well, since they just had kind of like that tete-a-tete, and she could have just minded her business. She could have been like, well, and kept it moving.
Let me get to Pinto.
Yeah. But I did get that feeling too, that it, like, she had a hand in helping.
Yeah.
And that scene was so good between Erryk and Erryk. I try to pronounce the one with the A, like how you would pronounce Aaron. So
Erryk and Erryk.
Yeah. Erryk and Erryk. It's still, because Aaron is still Erryk. Aaron and Erryk.
Earn. That's that that DMV
that
coming
Baltimore.
Out of you.
Yeah. So at first I'm like, Rhaenyra, why are you here? Because in the book she's not there. But she's like in the corner, and I was like, oh, they have to do this one at first because we don't know which one of them is which.
Yeah, we don't know.
The fact that that's not twins is crazy to me. That's just two separate actors.
What?
Yeah.
They knocked me over.
They said in the first season that it's just two separate actors that look like similar. And that they're fighting, and you kind of need her there because, you know, the twin that's lunging for her is the one that's, you know,
that's how you know which one to root for.
Yeah,
right.
And then, but by the time they've gone to their third twist around, and then she's by the door with Sir Marbrand, and Sir Marbrand's like, which one? I want to help, but I can't because I don't know. But this fight was very epic. You could feel like the sadness and the love between the two of them. And when Erryk kills Erryk, and I'm like, which one won?
Which one won? And then you're like, well, does it matter? Because they both dead now.
Right. But at first I was gonna be like, okay, so which one won?
Yeah.
And then I was like, but now y'all got to kill him just to be safe. Ever. That's what I was thinking. You don't even
know. Yeah. How would you know if that's the right one? How does he prove it?
Yeah. And so, but the fact that he fell on his own sword was like, that was so sad. And
it was. Yeah. This sucks. You know, these brothers on this show really they be doing a number to each other. There's siblings on this show. It's really bad because we haven't talked about another sibling in this. We haven't talked about Aemon at all. Aemon has dodged all of this, considering he was the target of all of this. You know, like you were supposed to bring me Aemon. You brought me the other baby, like the baby. That's not what I asked for, but okay, you know. And so we find Aemon in the brothel, kicking it with Madame Sylvie, and just kind of like, I don't know, in a fetal position. He's like having like a real like cuddle moment, you know. We learned. He looked like, I saw a meme of him looking like Lord Voldemort, kind of like the shriveled up Voldemort, and I was like, I see it. But I think that it reminds me of when we learn in Game of Thrones that sometimes people just be at the brothels for companionship, right? It's not always about sex. Sometimes they're just looking for someone to hold them. We saw the Unsullied be at the brothels, and they ain't got no business there. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes they just like for people to just like be there for them. And Aemon does open up a little bit and talk about how I kind of feel guilty about the whole cousin thing. Like, I ain't mean to kill Luke. You know, it was, like, they used to pick on me, so I was picking on him because I have a bigger dragon than him. Like, for me, it made sense. But now look at us. I didn't done this, and nobody cares. Again, Aemon is like, the damage is done, but it is interesting that we are going to see like a more human side of Aemon, who we haven't really seen that part of before.
I like that he shows some remorse. Again, we love when these characters have dual more than one personality trait and stuff like that, and full-fledged characters. I did like the quote, and I cannot remember that quote. I think is in one of the Game of Thrones books. I don't think it's in this one per se, but when she says, when princes are angered, others normally pay the price.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say that's in this book somewhere, but it was so telling, and it was true, and that it's what we saw all this episode. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, between Erryk and Arryk having to kill each other, because they both have swore duty to separate monarchs and rulers, to,
Yeah.
like, everybody else being affected by this except for the people who are mad at each other. It was good.
Yeah, the small folks suffer when princes lose their temper, and
Yeah.
and that's, and then you say princes, but you can call it kings, queens,
Yeah.
whoever. These people up top that are playing the Game of Thrones, they're using everybody below them as pawns, and it's the pawns that have to do the most, and they're get picked on a little bit. We do see a pawn that I want to talk about a little bit as well, who I flagged last episode, but I didn't know I would have to see them again. This man Hugh is back.
Yeah.
Hugh was the one who was petitioning the crown and saying, Aegon, I get that you want us to do like weapon building for you, but I need some money. And Aegon was like, I got you. That right. You. Otto Hightower was like, we don't got you. We do not have him. We are not giving him any money. He's like, I know I got him. Like, we gonna pay him up front so he can make weapons. Duh. In this episode, we get more of Hugh, but I'm not quite sure why, Mari. He has a sick child. What is happening with this man?
I would have to tell you in the spoiler section.
Okay, so put a pin in that. My last question that I think we might have to go to the spoiler section is, we meet Adam the Hall,
yes,
to
Adam
go along
of
with
Hall,
Alan of the Hall as
oh my
well.
god,
So we meet the Hall brothers,
Hull.
and the
Hull's a
Hall
place.
brothers.
That's not their last names.
Okay, so Alan and Adam
Yes.
of Hall.
Hull. Mm-hmm.
Okay, they're there. We met Alan last week. Him and Corlys seem to have some type of, interaction where we learned that Alan is the one who pulled Corlys from the water. He saved him. And in this episode, Adam, his twin, question mark?
Twin.
Yeah, his twin is like, yeah, Corlys owes you. He owes us. And that reminds me of something else that you pointed out in the book corner. And I couldn't tell if the book was alluding to that. The show was alluding to that, and we just haven't gotten there yet. But I'd be dying to talk about that once we get to the book stuff.
Yep, it's exactly that. It's all illusion. I love how they are setting up future stuff that might not even come to fruition in this season. They're setting up, so it's like they're doing a very good job of making sure that you have some recognition of some of these minor characters before they step into bigger roles, so that you're not confused, a la, again, Game of Thrones. You're like, wait, who is this person? Like,
where they come from?
Yeah, they're doing a great job.
Okay, so Mari, is there anything else we need to talk about in this episode before we get to Maester Mari's book corner?
No, the only thing is we forgot to talk about, they changed the opening to like the historical tapestries. I really like the new opening. Yeah, because it's much more clearer. If you know the book, you know the events that they're talking about. It's the tapestries depict different events in the Targaryen like history. So Aegon's conquest, Aegon and Visenya burning Harrenhal, Maegor the Cruel dying on his throne. It's like major events before the dance and all of that, before this time period. And then it ends with like Aegon on his throne, Rhaenyra on her throne, the Team Black versus Team Red. It has the hand, like it tells you who their hands are. It even, if like this week, I don't know, I couldn't tell if this was the same last week, but it also has houses around that, which I'm assuming is telling us where everybody is aligned. So I really like this opening. I like the opening last season as well, but the opening last season was so complicated because it was literally a visualized version of their bloodline using the old Valyria model. And once they got past Jaehaerys's bloodline, I was like, this is so, I don't know what's going on here. It's like a 3D family tree that was very hard to keep up with. Like I had to watch several like video breakdowns in YouTube of like,
Mhm.
oh, this one meant this was for this person, this was for that person. So I think these tapestries just spell it out again, tell it to me like I'm 5. It's fine. I like this. Mhm.
Yeah. So I want to talk about the opening maybe next time when we do the book corner, because I think
Okay.
I saw a Twitter thread or something like that that breaks it down, and I got a bunch of questions about that, because I personally
Okay.
love the original Game of Thrones opening. I never missed it. I never skipped
Yeah,
it
the
one time,
original.
because it
Yeah.
showed you
It goes
everywhere you
hard.
needed to
Yeah.
know on the map. It's like you
Mhm.
understood everything, and then I understood the idea of last season's opening with the bloodline. I just didn't
Yeah.
understand it because I
Yeah.
don't know these people.
Yeah. And
But this
last season kept growing too, but we just
exactly.
couldn't tell.
I didn't
Yeah.
know. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so this seems a lot better. And so I do want to talk about it next time. But Mari, if that's
Okay.
all for today's episode, yeah, this was fun. Like you said, back to our old Game of Thrones stuff. Overall, you think we're on the right track?
Oh yeah, overall this is good. I was afraid that I had told James before this, I was like, this might be a filler episode, you know,
Mm,
because people are so used to with Thrones and House of Dragon, like big set pieces, big like battles, big things happening. And this is not, it's essentially a filler episode, but it's not a filler. It's like it's setting you up for what's gonna come next. So it doesn't feel like wasted time, which we got a lot in Game of Thrones proper, like in those early seasons. But I really felt that they used all of their time wisely in this episode to set things up, because it's gonna kick off in the next episode, especially in episode 4 and stuff like that. So
yeah. No, this is fun. I'm enjoying it. Again,
mhm.
I'm still looking at people who are firmly team black, kind of out the corner, like out the side of my eye. And not because
Still
not
Team
because
Black.
I'm so rooted in being team green. It's just that y'all don't see nothing wrong with what's going on over there. Like it's like very much like
Really?
we hate Kristen Cole. Like that's who you hate
We
out of all
really
of this.
do.
I mean, don't get me wrong. The boy wildin'.
Mhm,
I
mhm.
ain't crazy either. I see it, but still, Daemon had a baby's head chopped off, and ain't nobody saying nothing. That's all I'm saying. Where's the outrage? Y'all like, but Kristen Cole and Allison are still having sex. By the way, they're still having sex, Mark. We kind of glossed over that, but they still out here getting it in. Mark, is it okay now that they're doing the do now that he's no longer a knight and he is now the hand of the king?
No, he's still
I mean, is he?
his vows are forever. So he's just
Well, he
a
already
Lord
broke them.
Commander hand. There's only an elite few where that were also the Lord Commander of the Kingsguard and the hand.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's
Yeah,
one of like an elite few. But
let's give him his flowers, y'all.
he still has his vows. So let's
Uh,
not.
His vows were to Rhaenyra. She's not even the queen. So look, let's scratch all that. Kristen Cole ain't did nothing wrong. Allison, I see you still getting yours. I see you, girl. But yeah, that's it for the episode. We are about to get into the spoiler section. So if you are averse to that kind of thing, if you don't want to hear about the books, the nerdy stuff, but I am telling you, it's a treat. So stick around. But if this is your last moment, we'll catch you here next week for more Hot D, the Westeros Kickback here on Recap Kickback. You can check out all the other content we have coming your way as well. We recently covered the Power of the Dream documentary with Geneva and Tracy from Who All Gonna Be There podcast, like the Who All Gonna Be There podcast. They came in and talked about women's basketball as a WNBA docuseries. We talked about that. I'm having Bryce Isaiah on soon to wrap up Pride Month, so we can talk about a movie review. We're gonna talk about Holiday Heart, y'all, and so check that out here on Recap Kickback. But we got a ton of content coming your way. So check us out on Hot D, the Westeros Kickback next week, or just subscribe to the podcast and keep up with all the rest of the stuff we have going on. But now is your time to tap out, as Mari and I are about to go into the book club right now. So everybody, welcome to Maester Mari's Book Corner. Mari, this episode, it was fun, but where did what are we back on in line with the books, or after last week's episode have they deviated even more?
No, this episode was actually very true to the books. That is going to be very short. Like
I bet it
the
won't.
only right, the only thing that like Daemon at this point in the books has already like started his siege on Harrenhal before the Sun with the Sun thing, so that's a little bit out of order. But I understood why they did it in this order, and I kind of like this. So Sir Erryk and Sir Erryk's epic battle was one where it wasn't seen by as many people, so it had several accounts. So one account was that they both fought and fought and fought until they basically died of exhaustion in each
From
other's
fighting.
arms,
Yeah.
like from so many cuts and wounds in each other's arms, and they died together. The second account was from Mushroom. He said that Sir Erryk, Rhaenyra's Erryk, kills Sir Arryk, but because Arryk slices him across the belly, Sir Erryk dies 4 days later.
Oh, okay.
So it's they kind of combine the two in a sense. They fought to the death. Erryk does end up taking his brother's life, but he's so consumed with the guilt that he commits seppuku and opens his own gut up, and I liked it. I really liked it a lot. James thought that he would have wanted them to kill each other, but honestly, I like this.
I preferred this to the Mountain and the Hound. You know, when their final battle and them falling off into the fiery inferno. You know,
because that was pure hatred there. So it was just kind of like every other fight you kind of see in a sense.
Exactly. This had some layers to it for sure. Loyalty to the crown, loyalty to each other as a bloodline, but then, you know, their duties and, you know, not wanting to be murdered. Exactly.
Not wanted to do this.
Yeah. You think there would be some other options? I mean, there definitely are, but not in this time frame. You know, like they're not. No one does that. You know, you don't go against your honor. You'd rather murder your family than do that. But let's talk about some spoilery stuff. I gotta talk about my holes, my family over here. Okay, Adam and Alan, the holes.
Yeah.
These are Corliss's kids?
Question mark.
Right,
because like I said, in the books, it truly, like, they are upheld as being possibly Sir Rhaenyra, like possibly from like when Sir Rhaenyra was younger. They tried to, you know, screw the gay out of him because the holes are they're born from like a well-known she was called the Mouse of Hull. She's not like a prostitute per se. She's just very well known around the docks of the Hull.
Yeah.
And people are saying that they're Rhaenyras. They're Rhaenyras mostly because I don't know if you saw Sir Alan when Sir Alan was on the beach. He saw the dragon. That dragon is Sea Smoke. That's Rhaenyra's dragon.
Okay.
And sorry, it wasn't Alan on the beach. It was Adam on the beach. God, man.
Adam on the beach, yes, with the dreads. Well,
Adam with the dreads and the locks, crab fishing. He sees Sea Smoke overhead, which was Rhaenyra's dragon.
Is Sea Smoke just chilling?
Yeah, he has no right. Like, he has no rider. So what we'll find out later. It has to be later this season, I'm assuming. But like, there's 6 dragons chilling on Dragonstone. 3 of them have been ridden before. 3 of them are unridden. And so at one point, Jace makes a call to action to find riders for those dragons. Yeah, I talked about it a little bit last week. It's called the sowing of the dragon seeds, because what the show I don't think really talks about is on Dragonstone. There's a whole like city and village and all of that on Dragonstone. Like that, you know, pay tithe to their lords and all that, you know, they're small folk that they command. And of course the dragons like to hoe around. So there's probably a lot of dragon bastards running around Dragonstone. So Jace says, if y'all can tame these dragons and fight for us, we'll give you lordships and stuff like that. Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So okay. So Adam and Alan will play a role in that. But again, it's like it's disputed, are they Laenor's kids or are they Corlys's kids? A lot of people suspect they're Corlys's kids.
Right. For obvious
Yeah,
reasons. You
for
know, like,
obvious,
you know, like,
yeah.
yeah.
But he doesn't want to claim them. He'd rather, if for him, it's better for him to claim them through Laenor than himself, because Rhaenys is right there. Like,
right. And if Laenor got some
so
kids, then you got some more heirs. You know what I'm talking about? You're like, you got like more bloodline if you can claim these children
right.
as your grandchild, basically. You know,
Yeah,
whereas you got to
exactly.
deal with the smoke if you try to claim them yourself.
Because remember, Corlys, like Corlys said in the history books, it's not blood that lives on; it's
It's the
names.
name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. And that's the sowing of the dragon seeds, all of that. That's where Hugh the Hammer comes in. I'm wondering if we got a sneak peek of another dragon seed, but I don't want to say it until it's like confirmed, if it's confirmed. But
Well, I was gonna say, okay, well, can we talk about Hugh a little bit? Because
yes.
I like that the show is subtly introducing them to us, but I cannot figure out if we're supposed to care about Hugh yet, you know? Because it's like
Right.
the first time we get him, it's Aegon's incompetence. Aegon's like, yeah, whatever, we'll give you some money. And then this time we get now like Hugh has a family. They're about to go to war essentially. So Hugh knows like I need this money so I can, like, we're down bad, but we're gonna get the money from the king. And they haven't given us any reason to care about Hugh except for the fact that he's popped up twice. So I know this is going to be somebody, and you call him the Hammer. Is it just because he's a blacksmith?
Yeah, that's his that's his name, his nickname.
Because they call Gendry the Hammer too, Mari, and it wasn't because of that.
I'm just gonna pretend like you didn't say that. So yeah, so I think what they're doing with Hugh is showing us what the small folk are going through, especially in King's Landing. He's talking about how they are all being severely like they're severely being affected by that, the gullet, the choking of the gullet.
Yeah,
they're losing money, they're losing food. Like it's a way to introduce him as a character, show what the small folk are going through, and I think will serve as motivation for some of his actions later down the road.
Gotcha. Anything else from the book that we need to highlight in this episode?
I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes. Honestly, like, this was really good. It's very true to the book. All of this really was. Sir Otto losing his office, him giving it to Kristen Cole. I loved hearing that line, the line, "My new hand is a steel fist." Was very good in the book. So they did a great job. And that's why I was saying, like, going into this episode, I was like, there's gonna be filler. They basically adapted what when I listened to the audiobooks. So they adapted like 5 minutes of like the book or the audiobook into like a whole episode here. And they really filled it out and made it feel worth it.
Right. I enjoyed this as well.
Actually.
It did make me want to go and start to read, like, you know, knowing that there's like some deviances in the plot makes me want to go and read the book. But at the same time, I much rather you just explain it to me like I'm 5. So here we go. I do appreciate them showing Baela as well, like kind of acknowledging. I like that they acknowledge that, like, that everybody's aware that her uncle is not Jace's father. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
but he was still, he's still the father that stepped up.
Right, exactly.
He was still in their lives, yeah, and he was still a good dad to them, and they had both their Sir Harwin and Sir Lena in their lives for a good portion of it. I did like that Baela and Jace here, like they're betrothed, so getting a little bit between the two of them was great. That's something they made up for the show. They're really trying to get the kids into more stuff, which I love about, especially they're trying to get Baela and Rhaenyra more involved early again. So that's really good. I like this. Again, it's scenes of dissent on each side, and there's scenes of humanity on each side. and so that's why, and that just what perpetuates this Team Green and Team Black of it all.
I feel really bad though. It's like the two women that are at the forefront of all of this are really just dealing with the incompetence of all the people around them, right? Like all the mistakes, all the people around them, right? All of the men around them are just pushing them into war, and they're trying their best to like to navigate it. Obviously, they make some attacks on their own ends as well, both sides. But it does feel like, you know, if they just give them free reign, then this would be fine. You know, we probably would have seen some type of like some treatise or something like that before Luke is killed. Even after Luke is killed, you really feel like, okay, maybe they could come back for this, but then the baby's decapitated. And now and when the baby's decapitated, you see Rhaenyra like, I wouldn't have even done that. What are you talking about? You know, so it's very interesting watching it through this lens. Just knowing that, you know, a lot of this stuff could be avoided. Like a lot of this stuff didn't have to happen, and it's just a comedy of errors is going to ultimately lead all these people to their end.
Exactly, it's a tragedy to say the least. Actually, yeah,
but it's fun to watch. Mari, I think that's it for this week's episode. Anything else we need to talk about?
Nope. I'm just telling everybody, like, buckle up. These next 2 episodes I think are going to be really good, and then I have no idea what they're going to do for the last 4 episodes. So
I had read somewhere online that someone said something about like one of the episode 4, episode 5 is going to be like Battle of the Bastards style. Like man, I was like, oh yeah. And so you said, is that episode 4 or episode 5? Because episode 4. Okay,
episode 4.
We're 2 weeks away from a big old event. Yeah, and I guess we'll be here to talk about it for sure. Mari, until then, tell everybody what you got going on and what you're working on.
Over on Crime Scene, me and Sarah Carradine, we review true crime documentaries and docuseries. You can go to robhasawebsite.com/crime feed in order to subscribe there. Just subscribe to the Crime Scene podcast wherever you get your podcasts. This week we have a doozy of an episode. We were joined by my good friend Matt Scott to talk about him. To talk about the documentary Tell Them That You Love Me. It's a very I don't even know the word for that documentary.
I see that one on Netflix. Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't even watch it because I was like, I don't like it. I don't like
wild.
It. I'm uncomfortable. I don't like it.
It is all of that. So we had the conversation that we had. It was so unhinged because we were like, how do we even talk about this?
Right.
So definitely go and check that out. That drops on Tuesday. It's good. It's a good episode. Listen to us. Don't watch it.
Don't watch it. Exactly. Oh, I can't wait to listen to y'all because I definitely ain't gonna watch that.
Yeah. And then follow me on Twitter at Mari Talks Too Much, to like the number 2, where I'll be, reposting all of the House of the Dragon stuff.
Yes. And as far as I got going on, of course, if you're here on Recap Kickback, you know what's up. Like I said, Bryce Isaiah is going to come join me this week to talk about Holiday Heart in honor of Pride Month. That's a movie that means a lot to Brycey, and so we're having Brycey back by popular demand, I might add. And so there'll be that. And I think there's a P-Valley docuseries coming up soon that Bryce and I are going to talk about. Yeah, it's hosted by the actor who plays Uncle Cliff.
You and me, yes.
Yeah,
all of us.
Mari, whenever you're ready to have us, we are down to have more Mari content all the time. Yes. We'll read some of the good feedback we've been getting on the next podcast as well. But like I said, last week we had the WNBA Power of the Dream documentary, and it was Tracy J from A Who All Gonna Be There and Geneva to come on, and they talked about that documentary with me. It was great. And so, yeah, just keep tuning in every week for more Recap Kickback content. Of course, subscribe to the podcast, support the podcast however you can. Shout out to the people over there on the Was It Good Though podcast, Jason and Jazz. They we're having a lot of fun on Twitter with some of these House of the Dragon awards, but that's another good podcast that I have to highlight every time I get a chance because those are good people over there. Check them out as well. And then, of course, you can follow me on all social media platforms at Recap Kickback. So, for Mari and for myself, you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell up out of here until next week when we talk to you about House of the Dragon season 2 episode 3. Until next time, peace.